I paid £400 for a 19-year-old Florence and the Machine who played at 4 p.m. on the only stage. A week later, then she completely broke. She broke.
Hello and welcome to the first ever episode of People Do Fun Jobs. I'm Mr. Winter and this is episode number 1. Now, to give you a little bit of context as to where I am recording this, I'm currently sat in a very quaint and quintessential English country garden, which has absolutely no relevance or connection to the show. But it just happens to be where I am and where I'm recording it. So there's the context. Now, what is People Do Fun Jobs all about? What's the point in it? Where did the idea come from? And why am I doing it? I do a lot of work in events and obviously make videos. And I feel like in my day-to-day life, I meet a lot of quite interesting people, or very interesting people, in fact, who do interesting jobs and do interesting work. You know, whether it's a single mum who has started her own business, or someone who does some DJing on the side but is actually doing really well, or someone who's working maybe in the music industry but on the songwriting side of things, or whatever it is. I feel like I meet these people quite a lot, and I thought it'd be really nice to actually bring that into a little bite-sized format and deliver it to the world and kind of share it from an inspiring point of view, because I think we all know about the obvious jobs when you're in school and college and go on to university. You know, very impressive jobs and completely necessary and important and wonderful. But those kinds of jobs, we know the A to B, you know, what qualifications you have to get, what path you have to do educationally speaking. But this is all about those people with jobs where you're like, what? That's a job? How the hell do you do that? How do you get into that? And it's not limited to one industry or one sector. I've got a few episodes under my belt now, and I'll be churning those out. And I've spoken to people in sports and in sciences. But you will find a lot of the episodes will veer back to a creative job, because that's really what I find interesting and what I'm kind of around a lot. So that's the idea. If you can get a bit inspired and go, wow, didn't think about that, even if it's not something you're directly interested in, I'm not going to want to do the job of every guest that I'm speaking to, but it's still like, wow, that's really cool. Let's find out more about that. So that's the idea with People Do Fun Jobs. Now, this is episode number 1, and this is all about Standon Calling Festival. Now, Standon Calling is a British music festival. It happens in Hertfordshire every year. It's been running for well over 10 years now. And a few years ago, I hosted a really small stage and kind of introduced the bands on it. And then last year, in 2018, I was asked to come back and host the main stage, which as a presenter is a pretty big gig and a really fun one as well. So I did that last year and was invited back to do it again this year in 2019. So obviously doing something right. But it is a really thrilling job to do. Getting on stage, getting the crowd hyped up and introducing really talented musicians and artists and bands is just really bloody fun, to be quite honest, and it's a really good gig. So I did that last year. In fact, I've actually written a list of who I managed to introduce, because off the top of my head it escapes me. But last year I introduced Tom Walker, Gaz Coombs from Supergrass, absolute legend, Sam Fender, who Radio 1 have really championed since then actually, Jade Bird, who's a very talented singer-songwriter, the Bootleg Beatles. They're pretty much the biggest Beatles tribute band in the world, and for good reason, because they're like scarily similar to the Beatles. It's really weird, but great fun. A lot of people came to watch them. And the Amazons, I did the Amazons last year, and that was after a bit of a turbulent time. There were basically severe storms, and I had to shut the main stage down twice which let me tell you doesn't go down very well. I got booed. But they managed to switch some things around. We thought we were going to have to cancel them, but it all worked out, and I went out and was like, guys, we're back on, the Amazons are playing, it's all good, and everyone's really happy. So that was last year, and then this year I introduced some wonderful people again. Band of Skulls, they were awesome. The Howl and the Hum, they're a Yorkshire band who were awesome, really, really good. Mahalia, who's now getting very mainstream, and for good reason, because she's got an absolutely stunning voice. Hypnotic Brass Ensemble I introduced onto the main stage. They're 10 guys from Chicago that all play trombones and trumpets and full of energy and good vibes, and they walked on as I was still talking and introducing them, so I kind of ended up doing a bit of a dance on stage with them, which was hilarious, and I made a quick exit off stage to leave them to it. And I also managed to introduce a very famous man called Lewis Capaldi, who was the headliner on the Sunday. Or well, he wasn't the headliner, he was really highly billed. And that drew the biggest crowd all weekend. There were at least 15,000 people in the crowd, and whilst I loved doing it, that was really nerve-wracking, actually. Mate is a very funny guy. He was even nervous. His whole band were like, oh no, because there was like chanting going on, everyone joining in. They went out and smashed it, of course, because he's Lewis Capaldi, and he made everyone laugh and he made everyone cry with his smash hit ballads that I'm sure you're familiar with. So that was my job at Standon Calling Festival. This year, however, they also asked me to come on and do some Q&As. So there's the BBC Introducing stage, which was one of the smaller stages. They asked me to basically open the festival every day with a Today at Standon Calling, which was a sort of look at that day in question. Every day I hosted a question and answer session with one of the festival organisers. On day one, on stage, I sat down with Alex Trenchard, who is the founder and main organiser for Standon Calling. So he grew up in a lovely house with a pool, and his parents owned that house, and one day he threw a party in his back garden for a few friends, and had a barbecue and a bit of live music, and every year basically that grew and grew and grew and got bigger and bigger and bigger. So such a great start to the story. And anyway, we sit down in front of an audience and we have a really interesting chat. So let's cut to it anyway. This is my chat with Alex Trenchard, the founder of the festival for Standon Calling. Hello folks, thank you for joining us at the very first What's On at Standon Calling. Hello Alex, welcome sir. How are we?
Thank you. I'm very well, thank you.
So just to say, I thought I'd pick out a very on-theme book, a cyclopedic dictionary of music. So that's what I'm reading up here, folks, in case you want to share that knowledge with me. This is the 14th year that Standon is going. Tell us how it started. It all began in your back garden as a barbecue, right?
Has everyone here been here before? Or are you sort of regulars? So you probably know this story already, but we'll go through it. And then I think part of the point of this is just to talk about these kind of things for new people, but also to focus on what's on each day, because there's increasingly so much on the Standon lineup that you can now do, and I think it's a nice place to just draw out what I'm looking forward to and the rest of the team that pull the festival together with me. But how did it start? Well, it started here, where we're all sitting now.
Literally here, the house is right there.
Yeah, it's my parents' house, not my house.
Your parents' house.
But and mum and dad who are here used to go off to Scotland on a Scottish holiday for a couple of weeks, and I was in my early 20s, and I would have a few friends round for just a dinner party or something like that.
Sounds very well to do. I don't buy the story.
But the truth was that we had, the first year I think we had about 50 people in the garden, and it was a barbecue and a set of decks by the swimming pool. And then the second year, I think it went from 50 people to about 500 people with a barbecue and a set of decks by the swimming pool.
Nice.
And I think the first that Mum and Dad begun to understand that the potential scale of that 500 year was when they read about it in the Hertfordshire Mercury, and found out about 62 noise complaints and how people have been coming and going. We had no fences. We had this was the stage. It blew over because it had a massive drape saying Standon Calling, which then took off in the wind into the hedge behind. And we had a swimming pool. We didn't have any security. And we went on until 10 a.m. when local residents started turning up. So we now try and do better on that side of things. So
security's improved vastly.
Security's improved, and hopefully we managed to be a little more part of the local community than perhaps we were in those heady days.
So you grew that. How did you get it from that party that became a very big party to suddenly ticketing it and making it a big event? How did that happen?
So then the third year, we then started, it became evident that we were pulling a lot of favours from, friends here, there and everywhere who were all doing it for kind of love and that kind of thing. And but it became quite clear that it was becoming pretty chaotic. And we needed people to provide some sort of backbone and production and that kind of thing. So once those costs came in, you really had to pay for them. And so that's when we started ticketing the event. And I think then in those days it was sort of I think we booked our first ever act through an agent, which was the Noisettes in the third year.
Don't upset the rhythm.
Don't upset the rhythm.
Yes.
Yeah. But that was really the beginning of it in terms of like booking a quite strong track record in terms of booking acts before they broke in those days. So I paid £400 for a 19-year-old Florence and the Machine who played at 4 p.m. on the only stage, and then a week later, then she completely broke. And then the same thing happened a year later with Mumford & Sons. That was also 2009, exactly 10 years ago. The same thing happened with Friendly Fires, who had that jump in the pool hit that year. And that's why I'm really excited that actually they're coming back this year, 10 years on.
This is their 10th anniversary, right? Since they were here.
It's 10th anniversary since they were last here.
Last year, yeah.
In a time period where I think they've just got their third album out, so they've taken their time.
That is a super interesting part about Standon, is you have these artists play, and you seem to champion these guys. Last year you had Sam Fender play in the afternoon on the main stage. He's taken off like a rocket in the last year. Radio One are playing them all the time. Is that something that excites you, that you can have people that obviously your guests already know, but then you're bringing in these people and then they're blowing up?
Yeah, it's an interesting one, really, because sometimes you get the timing absolutely right. So we tend to book these acts. Amy, who's talking tomorrow, and I tend to book the acts around sort of October, November, December, January. And sometimes you get the timing right. So, I mean, this year's version of that is Lewis Capaldi, who's like kind of, he's playing 3 Down on Sunday, but, did you see the crowd he had at Glastonbury? And he's had a number one album for on and off for weeks. And then in other cases, like in the case of Sam Fender, who's now massive, but come Standon last year, he hadn't quite broken. So he sort of broke around like September. So there are other acts on the lineup that we're really excited about, and that haven't maybe broken, but may well break towards the end of this year.
Yeah. And so who are your top picks for Standon this weekend? Who does everyone here need to go and see? So
for me, I think it's been 6 years since Hypnotic Brass Ensemble last played. And last time they played 5 years ago, it was incredible. and just got everyone jumping around. And it looks like it's going to be sunny when they're on, so I'm looking forward to that. We've already spoken about Friendly Fires, so for me, that's just quite emotional. 10 years on, it's going to be good to see them.
For me, they're the perfect festival band. They're going to be so good.
And they're supporting Wolf Alice, who
Yes.
for me is one of my favourite live acts, particularly in a festival. This was the first festival they're headlining, I think, and we're excited about that because they deserve it. And Mercury Prize winners, and just a really, really interesting rock band.
They've had quite a year, so to bring them here and give them their headline slot is a great thing.
Tonight, Rag and Bone Man,
Yes.
Rory's coming back for the third time. He first played 6 years ago.
Wow.
When he opened that stage. So it's a nice story that he's come back to headline it. And he's always been spoken really positively and lovelily about the Standon audience. So I'm looking forward to seeing that interaction.
Great. And of course, Nile Rodgers and Chic to end the festival. What a way to go out on Sunday. That's going to be amazing.
I don't think you can go out any better. And
bring the disco.
There's going to be a lot of people here on Sunday for the disco.
Yeah.
But then, after Rasheen, so that is sort of quite Rasheen Murphy into Nile Rodgers is quite a kind of disco finale. But before that, obviously, we've got Lewis Capaldi, who plays on the main stage at 5 p.m.
We're going to shed some tears, we're going to start moving, and then we're going to really start moving.
Exactly.
I like your thinking, Alex. Okay, so for the family side of things, what are the aspects of Standon that people need to go and try out? There's a few things that people take part in every year here.
Frederick Theodore, what are you looking forward to? So
the dog show.
Yeah, we're looking forward to the dog show.
We're really
which is also, here's my family. We're all looking forward to that. That is the one bit of the festival that I don't have any control over, because particularly my brother and my sister take matters into their hands. Now, last year, Nigel, who's great, by the way, who runs the playing fields, last year he slightly overstepped the mark because he decided to run the dog show himself. And there were quite a few difficult family discussions after this. So I'm just making the point that this year, this is my brother William. He is the MC. And
They're all here.
If everyone can support him. But anyway, the dog show is very important. My parents here are the kind of arch judges of the...
These are your parents here?
Just here.
Hey, they're the reason we're all here for the 14th year.
they live in your house, and if you can imagine what it's like to have a festival in your back garden for 14 years running that you actually never gave permission for in the first place. So if you can all give a round of applause.
This is what good parenting looks like, guys. Incredible. So we got the dog show. We have the pool. Obviously, people need to dip their feet when maybe the rain clears.
It's clearing soon.
It's clearing soon. Optimism. We like it. The theme, fancy dress.
So this year's theme is Twisted Creatures.
And where did that come from?
Well, we kind of wanted to do. I think it was Amy's idea, who's speaking tomorrow. We wanted to do something around animals, flora and fauna. But maybe something a little bit more different, something that encourages people to come up with really interesting costumes. So we didn't want a load of people bouncing around in rabbit costumes or something. We wanted people to mix their animals, think of how animals might have or plants might have evolved differently. So I'm really looking forward to tomorrow's costume theme.
Do we get to look forward to any of that? You might be wearing the crown, Alex, but I want to see some horns and wings or something.
This year I've been pretty bad. I've got about 24 hours to sort out my costume.
You're a busy guy.
But also the creative team have done a really fantastic job. Over the last few years, their team has started building more bigger structures, and I started to feel that actually that was taking away all their efforts were put into these massive, huge hero structures. And actually, what they've done this year is gone back to what we used to do, which is to look at more the detail and the charm and in terms of the decor. And I think that's really come out, because I think what that allows is for the audience to kind of, everyone feels the festival's more part of theirs. When you have these big spaceships, everyone can see it, but you don't discover it. So all the interesting like corners of the festival where I keep discovering these amazing like creative pieces, I love it because it means people can say, did you see that? And it makes it more theirs.
Yeah, we did a recce last night and saw some of that, and I'm very excited to how it evolves over the night tonight. Alex, we're being pressured because there's a festival to run and there's music to play. Thank you very much for the talk.
Thank you.
Good luck this weekend. I hope you enjoy it all. And lastly, just want to say, man of the hour, it's actually his birthday today, everybody. So let's maybe not sing happy birthday. You want us to sing? I mean, I'm not gonna kick that off. Would you like us to sing, Alex?
You don't need to sing.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday, Alex. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Let's give him a big cheer, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
So there we have it. That is the first episode of People Do Fun Jobs in the can, in the bag. Thank you for watching it and listening to it. Thank you very much to Alex Trenchard, of course, the founder and festival organizer of Standon Calling, and a big thanks to Rob Lee, who set it all up as well. And also, please do give me your feedback on this, because I want to evolve it and improve it as much as possible. And next time you see me, I won't be sat in an irrelevant country garden for no reason. So thank you very much for paying attention to it. Don't forget to follow me on socials. Instagram is great, at Mr. Winter Official. Facebook, at Mr. Winter Official. YouTube, you've guessed it, at Mr. Winter Official. My website address has the links to everything else as well, which is mrwinterofficial.com. Thank you very much, and we'll see you on the next People Do Fun Jobs. Bye.
Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more videos. Just search Mr. Winter Official. This is Mr. Winter. Let's go!